the black men were like, oh, she probably leased it. Oh, that's probably not even her car. She's sitting in the back seat. Like,
nigga, you leased it.
No, like, they was really coming for her neck. Like, why can't y'all just be proud to see this black woman winning? Like, why can't she just
Why can't she just boast on Twitter and
why
just
can't she
post?
be successful?
First of all, this is her page. She can post whatever she wants, even if it isn't hers and she just sitting in the back seat.
These
so
the
what?
same
That's
men that be sharing a Gucci belt, tearing down. Listen,
We're
talk
tired.
about it.
Welcome back to It's Too Early. It is season 2, episode 8 in our series of Our Black Stories. I'm Nelly,
Bree,
Naya, Bonnie,
and we're here to talk about more things related to black people.
and
to black people.
Specifically today we are talking all Black Lives Matter. We've heard the term all lives matter, so we're just going to get into it. We're going to start with our Real Talk Friday, and the Real Talk Friday for this week was, do you think the Black Lives Matter movement rejects black men? And if you didn't see the question, please go on our Instagram and watch the video that goes along with it, because we want to ensure that you all know that these are not our views, but views of a woman who shared her opinion. So we wanted to get the conversation started. So I'm going to read a few responses, and we got some really good responses.
Thank y'all for commenting.
Yes. So, Yo Preem says, I think it's hard to say if the entire movement rejects black men. I do not believe that the Black Lives Matter website represents the entire community within the movement, because majority of the community is likely unaware of who the leaders of this actual organization and movement are. Whew, that's so true. But this is just proof that we must be careful and willing to educate ourselves about the organizations and nonprofits that we follow and or pour our money into. We must be diligent in our research and make it our own individual goal to spread awareness about the people and organizations who are really for everyone. Reading is fundamental.
Period.
Yeah. I will say though, when I say Black Lives Matter or in support, like, it doesn't connect with the actual organization. Like, does that make sense? Like, I really don't know who leads Black Lives Matter. Like, do y'all know?
I honestly don't. I think from the time that it started, I think the movement has kind of lost its definition. It's kind of lost what it's meant to be and what it's supposed to be, and a lot of people have put their own opinions and perspectives and kind of interpretations on the movement itself. So I think that's why we're in this position now, because nobody really knows. Like, Black Lives Matter, nobody knows who started it, nobody knows who's leading it. Like, it's kind of like an all over the place type of movement, and that's a problem. We should know and educate ourselves on who is leading this and what they stand for and what they really stand for. But it's also kind of hard to educate ourselves, because where did we get the education from? We don't know anything at this point.
I think it's also hard because Black Lives Matter kind of branched out into all these different, like, they have different chapters and everything. So it was kind of like the way they roll it out is kind of like, no, we don't want you to know the leaders, because we want the issue is bigger than us, so don't focus on who's leading it. So I kind of understand that part, but I do agree that we need to make sure we know who we're supporting. But I do think also the movement kind of branched out past the phrase Black Lives Matter branched out past what it was originally purposed for. So I think that's a good thing. Like, I don't think it burdens them in any way for Black Lives Matter to be used, the way we use it versus the way they originally intended for it to be used. So.
Right.
Yeah, and I think it also gets murky, because when I think of, like I said, I don't connect Black Lives Matter solely with the organization, but when people were donating all that money and it became an issue, like, where is this money going to? Who is it helping? Who, I'm gonna be honest, I don't even follow Black Lives Matter on Instagram. Like, when I say it, it's speaking more to the movement. So it's like, how do we begin to trust these organizations, and how do we put, I guess, the hope of our communities and our cultures in one sole organization?
And also, going back to just funding, I'm still doing my research, but if y'all know, comment, whatever, let us know. But there was something going around where it was because I had signed up for it, my dad told me, but something along the lines of like donating, but like it ended up being this like outside website called Act Blue, and it was like a whole bunch of different things. So if y'all know about that, please comment, and then maybe next time we'll kind of touch on that, because I stopped donating because I'm like, I don't even know where this is going. I was doing like $4 a month, thought I was doing a little something. Absolutely not. It's like really hard to trust what's right, because people say, oh, it's this, oh, it's that, oh, do you know that, you know, the Black Lives Matter? Because honestly, I had never heard that until my dad was like, oh, you know, they don't actually support black men. I'm like, what you mean?
Like, that's the reason that this whole thing started.
Right.
There's police brutality.
Yeah.
Which I still think is a reach, though.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna read another comment from the Real Talk Friday, because everyone had very different opinions on it. So let's see. So 21 underscore maybe 2x said, I don't believe that the Black Lives Matter movement rejects black men. However, it is our responsibility as black men and as a black man personally to do a couple of things. One of those things is to stop killing each other, because we need as many troops as possible to fight this fight. The next thing we have to do is protect our black women in every way possible, because it involves them too. Next thing is to protect the LGBTQ plus community as well. This fight is as much their fight as it is ours as heterosexuals. Lastly, we have to continue to fight the good fight for equality overall, and not lose sight on the matters that are important, and educate properly, whether it be our brothers and sisters or other races.
I want to comment on that, because reading and doing all the research that I did, I felt like, and if you have not gone to the website, please go and read for yourself, because interpretations are different. But for me, when I read, I have a couple different screenshots that I might talk about later. But with everything that was being said, I felt like the woman was more so like, you know, there's no mention of heterosexual men, and you know, the nuclear family, there's like this one line where it only mentions mothers, parents, and children, but it doesn't mention anything about fathers. So I feel like that's where the reach came in. But in terms of speaking about the LGBTQ, XIA, transgender, all of that, I feel like they were really pushing for that on their website, because a lot of the community doesn't really support them like that, especially in the black community. And honestly, I had a conversation with my boyfriend, and he's like, they don't even say black men. They don't say black men. I'm like, but they do. Like, are gay men not black men, or are they not men in general? And I feel like a lot of times the idea of being trans or having something like already puts you even less, and that's not being recognized. So that's what kind of made me change my outlook, being like, okay, well, I just feel like that is why they're saying all lives matter. Like, when you hear Black Lives Matter, you think of what?
Black people.
Black people.
But like specifically what?
I think of black men, because all the black movements, all the movements that have happened have really stemmed from the killing of a black man. So that's why I can't understand why someone could say Black Lives Matter doesn't support black men. Literally, it was pretty much formed for black men. And then we get into the topic of not all lives matter, but all black lives matter, because all lives don't matter until black lives matter. You cannot say that term and just
think it's okay.
Yeah. And my thing is, we would see if they didn't support black men, because what are the kind of cases that they're going and rallying behind? It's the killing of black men. If they wanted to only rally behind black women or black trans people, that's what they would do. So how can we say that it's a sexist organization when they're literally going out and supporting our black men?
And I think the only reason why they may not mention fathers, or they may not blatantly mention black men on their website, is because that's already the narrative that's behind the movement. They just want to bring light to everything else, like we've been saying, trans lives. Like, they want to bring light to black people within the LGBT community, like black women especially, because that's another topic for another episode. But like, we all know that black women don't get the same respect and the same push behind black men when it comes to Black Lives Matter.
I mean, look at Breonna Taylor. Like, the amount of, if you look at solely just the number of time a hashtag was used, George Floyd's was like near billions, and you have Breonna Taylor's that was at millions. So you can even see the difference there in the amount of support that they get. And it's all still Black Lives Matter, but the black man is still getting more support. So I totally disagree with the video. I don't think that Black Lives Matter is alienating black men.
I think they're just pushing more. Like, one of the screenshots, I'm just going to summarize, basically says that while the tragic deaths of Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown were catalysts, the emergence of the movement is clear. In order to truly understand how devastating and widespread this type of violence is in Black America, we must view this epidemic through a lens of race, gender, sexual orientation, and gender identity. And they also say that they're self-reflexive, whatever. Their work is required to dismantle cisgender privilege and uplift Black trans folk. And I felt like that also went into pushing that same type of idea that, like, Black trans people are not even, like, Black trans and just trans people die at an alarming rate, but we never hear about it. But you'll hear more about a Black man being killed or a Black woman. That's the first thing you hear, but I also don't feel like we rally the same way. And I really want y'all, not to get off topic, but do you think that if George Floyd was a Black trans person, do you think that it would have gotten the same type of uproar?
I think it should never have been brought up. Whether he was trans or not, we shouldn't even known that, because the man is dead, so what does that have to do with him being killed by police? Like, I feel like, and of course it would have been, because that's how the media is, but
you think it would have been as big?
I think it would have been brought up, and it would have, had an effect on how much it was promoted or whatever. Promoted, not the right word, but I just think it shouldn't matter. Like, we should not need to delve into the history of a person or what
their
they did, their sexuality, to recognize that it was wrong for him to get killed. Like, we should have been able to say, that Black man just got killed. I don't know nothing about him, but I'm going to rally the same way.
The only reason, though, I say it might have been, and maybe not the same, because we are still dealing with homophobia and transphobia in the Black community. It's a thing. Not going to act like it's not. But still, the way George Floyd was killed, and we talked about it, just like being able to see it and watch it, that's the only reason that I feel like there would have been a similar uproar, because you can't deny the fact that we watched somebody die.
That's what I think too, yeah.
I think that it would have been similar, but we see all the time, like, especially in the past, 3 months or so, that there have been trans people that have been going missing and getting killed, and their names just kind of just disappear.
So I think it's because of the fact that you said with George Floyd, we blatantly saw that for 8 minutes and 46 seconds that he died. Like, he had a police officer's knee on his neck. But I think the difference is with trans people who are going missing, it's because they go missing. There's no evidence of that. Nobody can really prove that, if you will, quote, in quotation. So it's kind of like, okay, well, we just want to sweep this under the rug because we don't have no evidence, so ain't nobody really gonna believe it. We're not gonna put it out. We're not just gonna say, oh, this person went missing, let's uproar, let's have a rally behind it. But George Floyd, it was blatant on camera. It was all over the place.
And I think that's hard too, because I see a lot of stories, and sometimes it is hard to believe stuff when you don't have the hard evidence. Like, that's the truth. The media can twist stuff, or you see stuff on Twitter and then there's a whole nother side of the story, or you see something on Instagram. And this is a little off topic, but recently I saw a post of a hairstylist who was jumped by one of her clients. Like, she made an appointment, she's a traveling stylist, went to her client's house, and they jumped her. And that's wrong. But it turned out that before that, her and her friends jumped the girl first. So it's like, it just wasn't on camera.
Yeah.
So it's like, sometimes it's really two sides of the story like that. But some stuff is undeniable. When stuff is on camera, it's undeniable. And I think that's where some people have a hard time supporting some things and standing behind certain things, because it's like they don't have the education, they don't have the facts. Like, even I feel like I personally have been like, you all have heard of the lynchings that have been happening. Like, even those are kind of hard to, like, wrap my head around, because I'm like,
how do you even justify that as a suicide?
And how do you how are they investigating it? How do you get, like, I'm at the point now where it's like, what else can we do to get justice for Breonna Taylor? Like, I just feel like we're just hitting walls now. So it's like, what else is it that we need to do in order to push forward this movement?
I think support needs to be across all boards, though, whether or not you agree with that person's decision, because I feel like based on like sexual identity, and if I misspoke before, black trans woman, or however, you know, the correct terminology is, I feel like a lot of times based on your sexual identity or who you choose to love, that like kind of hinders the way that somebody will support you. Like they may blame you because, you know, that probably happened because, you know, you're doing stuff you're not supposed to be doing or something like that. And I feel like that kind of circulates in the black community. So instead of like fully supporting because you're black and I'm black and we're both humans, it's more so like, okay, well, a black woman, like, we gonna support her, but, like, a black trans woman, like, what really did you do? I feel like there's almost that push where we need to be convinced a little bit more that they're victims. So I feel like support just has to go across all boards.
It does. I don't understand how people can look at someone and tell them that their sexuality devalues their life. Like, how does that happen? How does that work? How do you say, oh, you're heterosexual so your life matters, but like that doesn't make sense to me.
And also, like, I think what I read, it was something like they wanted to dismantle cisgender privilege. And if you don't know what cisgender is, that just means I was born a female and I still identify as a female. But I honestly had to look it up because I'm like, what privilege is? But it names certain things like going to a hospital and being like feared of not being able to be treated because of just how you identify. Like that's a real issue, and that's still a part of Black Lives Matter. It's not just about police brutality. It's across all boards, women in healthcare, you know, children in schools and stuff like that. So yeah, I just
not
getting
being
heavy in here.
Not being identified as your correct pronouns. Like it's a lot deeper than that, and like being able to have the maturity and the respect for someone to acknowledge their pronouns just says a lot in general. Like I see it a lot now. Some people even put it in their like Instagram bios and stuff.
And that's people who are not even a part of that community who do that now.
Right.
I think that's just a sign of support too. I think it just kind of makes like it's required for our work signatures, like that our pronouns are in it. Like that's a staple part of our signature. So it's like the world is changing and people have to change with it. Like people have to be more accepting, and it is hard because just like it's literally the same situation. Like people were raised as racist and they continue to be racist and continue to teach their children to be racist. It's the same thing with homophobia, excuse me. But like people are homophobic, they teach their kids to be homophobic, and that's how like we have to stop these cycles and acknowledge all of it as inequality and not just, well, race is bigger.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I think go ahead.
Going back to the video, I think it's also important for Black men to realize like some of y'all naturally have this tendency to want to take leadership positions. And so naturally you feel offended that you don't see a lot of Black men in this organization, but it's like, if that's not what the organization was built for, why are you offended? Like that's a problem in yourself, because if these leaders are saying we built this organization for trans and Black women and all that kind of stuff, why are you then like, well, where is the Black man? Da 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 da, like she is in that video. It's like, if I make a makeup business and I don't have hair products in my business, I don't have hair products because I'm not making it for, like, I'm not doing hair. I'm making makeup. So it's the same case here. If I'm making a business for this specific thing, I'm not going to go and then be like, oh, but y'all can come and run it and do all this. No. It's for this specific thing, so I'm going to stick and stay behind what I believe in. Now, can y'all come and join? And do I want y'all to come and support and be foot soldiers? Of course, yes, because we want the support.
It definitely gives all lives matter vibes. Like, oh, you didn't mention Black men, that means you're against me. Like, no, sis, it's not about you.
But then we get mad at white people when they do it.
Yeah, no, it literally is the same thing. It's very toxic, and it's like at the end of the day, who are the people that have been on the front lines of these protests? Black women. Like, that's just, the facts are there. Like, look at the people who are taking these leadership positions, and look at the people who are starting other organizations. Like, I literally, all black women are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs right now. Like, y'all have to come with that same energy. Y'all want the ride or dies. You want black women to stand up for you, but it's not the same. It's not reciprocated.
Y'all don't want to put in the work to do it.
And that's not true that the organization doesn't have heterosexual black men as leaders, because I've looked at some of the chapters leaders and I've seen where it may have been like a couple, but there was a heterosexual black man that was the leader of one of the chapters.
Are you talking about the video when she said you can't hold
yeah, like there has been positions held, but she want to make everybody believe there hasn't. So it's really like real manipulative what she was doing.
And how are you mad because you walk into a boardroom and see black women running it? Like, that should not be, that should not make you feel like, oh, I'm left out. You should be like, my sisters are doing it. Like, I don't feel like, I just feel like the whole video is BS, and she tried it, and that's, and I feel like that's the type of content that comes out that tries to separate and break up the unity that's within the community. Like, all that, like, why are you putting that type of stuff in people's heads? And like, why can't this movement just be supporting a certain people at a certain time? Because it was created to support black men. Like, that's just the reality.
And that's why it's so important to do your education and research and actually read up on stuff, because a lot of people will see that video and be like, you know, I never saw it like that. Well, my whole opinion and perspective changed. And that's not the way that we should be going about things. If you feel that type of way, then educate yourself, read, research, like, do what you have to do to make sure that you're putting that perspective out that's your own opinion and not it being influenced by something that just goes out and you don't really know anything about it or never heard about it.
We have to read. Supreme said it, even on the website. Like, the lady in the video was like, it's in plain sight right here, y'all just don't read. And I'm guilty of it too, because I literally be like, oh, that's what, oh, okay, well, so-and-so told me, blah, 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 and it cannot be he said, she said, word of mouth. It needs to be factual, and we need to learn to build our own decisions and our own judgments on things instead of just trickling down, well, so-and-so said this, I feel this, whatever the case is. If it's a leadership position, it should be open for everybody, whether it's man, woman, trans woman, a gay man, a lesbian, whoever. Like you said before, that should not matter, especially in the black community. You said this last time, we don't know how to pick our fights. A lot of times we sit here fighting with each other when we need to be fighting everybody else.
Why are we causing more
13
chaos?
minutes.
Listen,
fighting with our own people.
Why are we
spend 13 minutes fighting with the white people? Come on.
Why are we causing chaos in our community is how I see it. Like, there's a bigger fight going on. Like,
unnecessary chaos, like, for no reason.
We're really trying to fight for all black lives, and you sitting here trying to separate us. No, that's not how it works. And I also want to say that, like, Black Lives Matter as an entity does not represent the entire movement. Like, at some point, Black Lives Matter became a hashtag. Like,
no, for real.
And that's what, like, and that's what I think of. Like, you post it, when you post things, it's to raise awareness and for the information to be out there. But it's not like Black Lives, every time I hashtag Black Lives Matter or something, that I'm thinking about the organization.
But you know what? I never separated them until this came. Like, Black Lives Matter, I just felt like the movement and what everybody says in the phrase was just one big thing. Black Lives Matter, boom, that's what it is. Until I was like, oh, this is actually a separate organization. They got different chapters, different here, different that. And I think we just have to, like, realize that Black Lives Matter is a true statement, period. Like, that's just what it is. It's not, oh, you know, this organization that puts together blah, blah, blah. Because when we're saying Black Lives Matter, we're literally just saying the statement. We're not necessarily backing what the organization is. And I personally I never separated the two. I never thought about it being an organization. I just figured everything is Black Lives Matter.
But I didn't it start off as a hashtag and then become
that's what I thought. I thought it started off as a hashtag on Twitter from Trayvon Martin. I really thought that it was just a hashtag. But that's where the problem comes in, because the lines are blurred of when did it turn from a hashtag to an organization back to a hashtag. Like, we don't know.
But on their site, they say,
I got the screenshot.
Yeah, it's on their
As hashtag Black Lives Matter developed throughout 2013, 2014, we utilized it as a platform and organizing tool. Other groups, organizations, and individuals used it to amplify anti-Black racism across the country. and all ways to show up, yada yada yada. So yeah, it literally started as that, and then started to organize into things where they made it more so a movement,
which is kind of like false advertisement, kind of. Like, I just feel like no, seriously, like, I feel like they kind of took advantage of that, because it was to raise awareness, and it's like, that's like if you put out a name, we start a hashtag, and I'm like, I'm gonna turn that into a business. Like, I just feel like that's kind of what happened.
Not rebuttal, but to add on to that, I think it was smart though, because like it was standing for something that was such a big thing that would like, it kind of catapulted, okay, well, Black Lives Matter, that's our group name, this is what we're going to do here to fight against those certain things, and we're fighting against it here to fight against those same certain things. Like, if it starts as a hashtag, and then I'm like, okay, well, we're going to actually make this hashtag an action thing. Instead of just saying Black Lives Matter, let's actually create something that will help.
But I think it's a bit manipulative, because then it takes everyone who was using the hashtag and stuff and assumes their position as supporters of the organization. Like, do you see that? So it's like, say that I personally did, like, I agreed with the lady in the video, and I believe that the organization was purposely leaving out black men. Then it's like, if I'm using that hashtag, even though I'm right, it kind of associates my values with them. Like, that's what I mean when I say, like, false advertisement, in a sense, is because, like, I really don't know the values of the organization Black Lives Matter. Like, I know that the statement is true. Black lives matter, and they should matter, and all lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter. I 100% agree with that. But when you get into the philosophies and values of the organization, I can't 100% be on board with something I'm uneducated about.
Exactly.
That's very true. I understand that.
Would you say we need a new hashtag?
I just...
It's
bigger than the hashtag at this point. So it's like even I've started seeing people use the hashtag all Black Lives Matter, because it's seeming like it has to become its own movement, which is crazy that they're saying that Black Lives Matter is highlighting transgenders and LGBTQ plus community, because then it's on the other side that they're forming a whole new hashtag on their own. So it's like there's some inconsistency, and I think that has to do with us as a black community lacking the ability to unify and strategize and organize, and everything's kind of all over the place. Instead of there being one sole movement, it kind of seems like we're fighting against each other instead of fighting together.
It's like we're in high school with cliques. Like, you have like the LGBTQ community over here, you have black women over here, you have black men over here, and it's like nobody's really like communicating with each other and making sure that we all support each other. Because I mean, we all black.
It literally goes full circle what we've been talking about though. Like, you have to support everybody that not only supports you, but like if you look like me and I look like you, we should be supporting each other, because there's the majority out there that don't support us. Like, at the end of the day, we're the only people that have each other's back. So what am I sitting here mad at you? You got a business, I'm gonna support your business, you gonna support that business. We gonna start putting people on, we gonna start circulating that dollar, we gonna start really standing up for each other instead of hating. Like, I can't stand a hating person. Like, I really cannot stand it. Like, we got rappers out here dying just because, like, oh, I don't like you, and it's like black men killing black men for what? Instead of lifting up your brother and being like, you know what, you got it, you're doing well for yourself, you showing out for all of us. It's just too much of this within the community, and I feel like in order to make true change, that has to change, because if we fight ourselves, they already got us killing each other, so they just got to sit back and watch.
I think it just shows how deeply rooted it is in our culture that we have to compete against one another. Like, we've seen that since slavery times almost. Like, they fighting to pick cotton because they want to live. Like, at that point, we really just have to relearn how to support, or not even relearn because we never learned, but we have to learn how to support one another, whereas white people have always kind of done that. They've always taught each other how to do certain things. They've always taught each other financial stuff. They always taught each other businesses, how to run businesses and that kind of thing. So we really have to learn as a culture and a race how to genuinely support one another.
We can't call ourselves a community if we're not in communion. Like, come on now.
Say it again.
Y'all need to visit church and say community together.
But I think that we just have to work on coming together and in community instead of competition. I think that's the biggest thing. Well, and it's definitely giving very much so all lives matter when y'all say, well, we can't touch this issue until it's all one issue. Regardless of the sexuality, these are still black people that are getting mistreated and dying, and I don't understand. Like, we have the ability to really make change because we have so many allies now. Like, that was one of the big things that, like, my uncles and speaking to older people, they're like, it's crazy to see a march that's not just all black people. Like, we have whites, Asians, Hispanics out here supporting black people. So we need to use that to our advantage. Like, we actually have the people power now to make changes, and like having those people in higher powers that are supporting these types of movements. So it's like, this is the time for us to get it together. Stop worrying about the minor things and look at the bigger picture. Like, the fight is huge. Like, when you're talking about nitpicking stuff, like, it's all down here. The issue is here. Equality for all black people.
And at the end of the day, that is all people. So
do your research, people. Please read from the top to the bottom, and then think for yourself.
And
please.
in between.
Yes.
And in between. And then talk about it. And then share it. And then do some more. Do it again.
And soul search and ask yourself, why do you personally have an issue supporting LGBTQ plus or black women or anyone who is not a black man? Like, why is that an issue for you? You need to soul search and figure out what trauma you have. Who did something to you?
Shoot, that means you need to go to therapy. You better find a therapist.
Because it's giving homophobia.
And it's also giving that y'all need to understand, if it's not personally affecting you, then shut up and mind your business. Yeah.
If it don't go, if it's not about what go in or on you, that should not be your concern. I'm just saying, like, I just can't understand why people care so much about someone's sexuality or the way that they identify. Like, I don't get it. Why is that hard to get through people's heads? That all Black Lives Matter.
And if you don't agree with it, don't say nothing. Mind your business. Keep it to yourself.
Like, you will really, like, seriously, it's some black men that really be so ready to tear down other people. And, you know, I'm gonna use this as a segue because we're gonna talk about it next. But there was a video, a picture a black woman posted that she got a Tesla, her dream car. And in the comments, the black men were like, oh, she probably leased it. Oh, that's probably not even her car. She's sitting in the back seat. Like,
nigga, you leased it.
No, like, they was really coming for her neck. Like, why can't y'all just be proud to see this black woman winning? Like, why can't she just
Why can't she just boast on Twitter and
why can't she be successful?
First of all, this is her page. She can post whatever she wants, even if it isn't hers that she just sitting in the back seat.
These
so
the same men that be sharing a Gucci belt, tearing down. Listen, talk about it.
We're tired.
And with that said, next episode we talking protecting black women because it needs the conversation.
We cut y'all that.
We getting our whole community together. We getting everybody together this series. So please stay tuned.
Period.
That season 2, episode 8 is a wrap. Y'all got us heated now.
We running that. We running that.